Welcome to the program. This is the People's Bench. We are coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs here in Nairobi, a very wonderful place for accommodation services, conference services, restaurant services, swimming pool services, and all that you are looking for. And so if you are in across the world planning to travel to Kenya, there is the place to be. Tonight we are looking at investment issues to do with business across East Africa region. And I am your host, Fred Ogweno. As usual, allow me to remind you to kindly subscribe on that YouTube channel at the People's Bench so that anytime we upload this kind of videos, you will be able to see them. I'm privileged to have Mr. Twahir Ismail. He is an investment specialist from Uganda as well as from Nairobi, Kenya. And tonight we're going to look at issues to do with the investment. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, I'm good.
It's a pleasure meeting you today.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Welcome to the People's Bench.
Thank you.
This is where we say it the way it is.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes. Maybe you could introduce yourself further to our viewers wherever they are watching us.
Okay. My name is Twahir Ismail. I'm from Uganda, so I'm East African anyway. Yes. So I am a businessman and I have expertise in investment, though I'm also in the medical field. So I am still, the way you see me here, yes. I'm still a medical student. I'm upgrading in medicine, but I'm an expert in investment. I'm a consultant to investors with mandate from the government of Uganda and all the regulatory authorities. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that brief introduction.
Yes,
I've looked at your profile and you do a lot of advisory services to do with matters investment,
yes,
particularly in Uganda and Kenya.
Yes.
Let's look at Uganda. Could you kindly tell us how is the environment in terms of business and investment like in Uganda?
Investment in Uganda is good, but it actually depends on the kind of investment the investor would want to do. When you talk about investors, we are looking at the local ones and the people coming from abroad. So we secure the investment plans, we secure all the procedures for the investors, the documentation, land acquisition, and also advisor in which sectors that are good for investment in our country, even in Nairobi, in Kenya. We do the best we always encourage people to go into agro-processing, which means agriculture and processing of the agricultural products to make final products for re-export. And right now we have a 10-year tax haven for such people, investors who come to do that kind of investment. And we also have leases for land up to 99 years for foreign investors, where the land they have full ownership for the 99 years. And maybe in that process, they can also become Uganda nationals, so they can have 100% ownership. Also, we have, because of the fast growing economy in East Africa, and Uganda is one of the fast growing economy, we have improved in foreign direct investment in Uganda. We have even surpassed Kenya because of the secure environment. The leading party, the NRM, has been able to provide the investors coming in. Yes, we have done a great job in that aspect. And I would want everybody out there to know that it is very safe to invest in Uganda. And they should pray that the leading government now should be able to stay in power much longer, to provide a conducive environment for such investment platforms. Yes.
I hear you, but the leading government has been there for long. Why do you want them to continue staying in power for long?
As a person, it's not about the being in power for long, but it has been a very good government, by the way, because you know the history of Uganda since the independence from 1962. Uganda has faced a lot of challenges, a lot of political instabilities, wars and things like that. So it is only until 1986. Have you ever heard of any war that is causing a lot of mass murder in Uganda? No, since 1986. Also, the level of development, the level of education, the level of development in health sectors, for example, where I'm involved, it has been so good. And right now, even the development, the per capita development strategy in Uganda is better than all the countries along Africa.
Thank you.
Yes, so we don't have any other option for now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's look at the political environment across East Africa region. Sometimes we do have a lot of unpredictability, and even international investors get scared when elections are coming. How about the political environment in Uganda now in terms of predictability and conduciveness for investment?
All right. In terms of political instability versus investment security, I always want to advise investors that this is something that happens everywhere. Any kind of disturbances that come with elections, they go. Even in America, it happens. Recently, you've seen when they were electing the President Trump. In all nations, it happens, but it is something temporary. So when we are doing investment, I always advise investors not to look at the temporary issues, but we look at the forefront, what we are going to have in the far future. So political issues, which are not going to turn into turmoil, we always become patient with them, and we do a lot of research to develop strategies of how we can maneuver in that kind of environment. First of all, the government has been able to make itself available to assess the level of instability in the country, to give proper advice to the investors on what to do, and more importantly, provide security which is going to secure the infrastructure of the investors. If it is a manufacturing place, we have demarcated places for factories and manufacturing, whereby it is a secured area. We also have storage facilities which have been secured off by the government. In case of farming areas have also been secured. So in case of, if you're investing in electronic, technological matters, we also have security for that, whereby there's nothing that is going to create issues in our investors' environment, because we have enough security in all aspects. So I really want to advise any prospecting investors out there,
Yes.
that Uganda and also Kenya,
Yes.
but in this particular case you asked about the political status in Uganda. Uganda has a very conducive investing environment, but a lot of investors do mistakes by undermining local partnership. It is very important to have local partnership before you do investment in a particular country. Also, without a local partnership, there are things that you may not know. People come in without enough research, but as the local people, we have enough research about the market, learning about the market trends, and the new business strategies that should be implemented in order to have success in business. Yeah.
Thank you. Tell me something about the ease of doing business and also investing in Uganda. We are still in Uganda,
Yes.
especially when it's come to things to do with the cost of electricity, you know, availability of land that you talked about. And also sometimes we have a lot of licenses and requirements that most government in East Africa region would do, and they make investors find it very difficult. And for example, Kenya, we have had cases where investors, you know, are now closing shop, moving to other countries. How has Uganda done this to maintain that kind of a conducive environment for the investors?
If you can check around, even on the internet, you will find out that Uganda has made everything easy for investors, especially in terms of licensing. We have, even at the Uganda Investment Authority, we have what we call a one-buy window. You go there, you get everything you want to know. Ownership of land, how to process a license, and a license from registration of a company to acquiring of the trading licenses and all tax certificates. They take not more than a week in Uganda for everyone. And that comes with guarantee for a work permit or residence visa, since you're going to be an investor in our country. So Uganda has made everything easy. Actually, in East Africa, it is the easiest country where acquiring documentation is faster than any other place.
Oh.
So another thing is acquiring land in Uganda is not a big problem, though it has been tricky before with fraud, like in land matters. But of recent, the government has implemented that even a foreign investor can acquire land for the 99 years, like I told you earlier. So a foreign investor can have land for a period of 99 years, which can be extended upon expiry. That is a lease. So you can call it temporary, permanent. It's not temporary, it is permanent, because nobody's going to live for more than 100 years, though we want our investments to run through generations,
yes.
so it can be extended for further progress.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about Kenya and Tanzania. Could you compare Kenya and Tanzania in terms of how they are doing in terms of making the environment conducive and attractive for investors?
Kenya, in particular, it is the leading economy in East Africa. So it has been, only that has been attracting a lot of foreign investment. But unfortunately, it has also caused a lot of demand and competition in the investment sectors. So you will find a lot of commotion in Kenyan investment, like in terms of competition, delays in paperwork. But we understand that this is because of a lot of applications. If you compare the traffic of investors coming to Uganda, it is less than the traffic of investors coming to Kenya. And this means the government is overwhelmed. The offices are overwhelmed to process all that. In Tanzania, is much slower than Kenya, and there is less privatization, whereby most sectors are controlled by the government, especially the mining sector. It is not easy for an investor to come and invest in mining or mineral products in Tanzania, and most of the sectors in Tanzania are much controlled by the government, whereby most investors now would want to have a sole management, like an SMC limited company, so that they can be able to run their company as an individual, which is not mostly available in Tanzania. In other words, the environment is conducive, except for a few political instabilities, like, because however much you do perfection, there are always matters of negativity in governance, and this has caused a lot of issues, especially in Kenya so far. But we pray that things get better, because if the public is not happy, then something needs to be done.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I hear you. Could you tell me something about the countries trade within the East African community. We've heard some countries are not willing to open, their borders, are not willing to open up their market, and this is impeding and causing a lot of delays, in terms of growth in the region.
Yeah. You see, each country have their policies and intentions. The intent of creating the East African Community, integratory trade region, is to make trade easy and to move of manpower. I mean, easy transfer of manpower. Say you need this service, you don't have enough manpower, it can easily move from Uganda to Kenya or Tanzania without a lot of paperwork being involved. Now, the issue we have with some countries being unable to fully comply with that is because maybe we may call it, maybe we think they are greedy. They don't want sharing, because once you integrate with other countries in the same region, it means you agree to share. The expertise you have in your region, you agree to share it with the expertise the other people do not have. You get it? So they end up having some deficit also on their side, because they would get cheaper labor from Uganda for a particular sector. But since they cannot be able to cooperate easily, then they get it from another place at a higher cost. So I am here to request every country, leadership on all these nations, to come and be fully submerged in the East African community, 100%, so that we can be able to make things easier for the coming generations and the present business sectors.
Thank you. Corruption is the biggest impediment to growth, when it comes to businesses. I would want to hear your comment. To what effect has corruption been a stumbling block to the growth of our economy, looking at these countries, East African countries? Sometimes people would want to know, whom do you know? You want to invest in that country, but you see, you have to maybe know the brother of the president, the cousin of the president, the minister somewhere. You want some permits, so that investors, sometimes they get scared. The amount of money that they are going to use for corruption or corrupting their way, especially in mining and other sectors, might even be bigger than the whole amount of money they need to invest.
Like I told you about mistakes that investors do, one of them is undermining local partnership. You can also have a picture. If you come to Kenya to invest in Kenya and you do not know anyone, and start your investment and find hindering blocks on the way, and somebody who has come and he knows somebody, I mean, when I say somebody, you know that, who is going to find it easy? If you know someone in the country, everything is going to be easy for you. How does corruption come up? Some investors come here and they need shortcuts. They want to do things their way, or things the way they have been seeing them done in another country. So they end up forcing officers in different offices to enter into corruption in order to produce or to do what has not been done before, to fasten the process or acquire licenses without compliance. So actually, corruption has caused, especially in the services sector and the health sector, corruption has caused importation of incompetent services and service providers. People who are unable, people who don't have the expertise and experience to provide a particular service, have been able to acquire licenses, though they don't have the ability to do so, to do the kind of service they're applying for. So we end up having inequality in the service production. Yeah.
How about the population? Do you think that we need to empower more of our citizens across the region so that they also get ready to partner with the international investors? Because sometimes there are cases whereby our local investors do not have the capacity to absorb and work with some of these multinational companies that will want to invest in our region?
In terms of local investors versus foreign investors, for example, in Uganda, we have incentives with the Uganda Investment Authority. Incentives are things you do or conditions you put that are going to attract someone into something. So there are investment incentives which are implemented by the Uganda Investment Authority, like exemption of tax, what I told you. This is also applicable to the local investors. The only difference is the amount of money required for a foreign investor is not the same amount of money required for a local investor in order to qualify for those incentives. For example, in agriculture, okay, the minimum investment for a foreign investor is $130,000. In that way, if you invest that amount of money, that's like 13 or 15 million Kenyan shillings. You invest that amount of money, it means you have exemption of tax for a particular number of years, depending on which sector you're investing in. Now, for a local person, they need $50,000, 50 to 80,000, which is much less than the foreign investors. So people who are not able to work with the multinational companies, we advise them to go into entrepreneurship, because people have the money to start investment, but they always think big, that being an investor, you must have a lot. Though you can start with any amount you have, and progress will come slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hear you. And other challenges that you'd say that is affecting these countries, across the region, that maybe if a few things that if they were fixed, then we could see an increase and influx of investors coming in the region?
The challenges we face also is misinformation. Misinformation, especially with you people of the media.
I knew you were going to come there.
Yeah, there's this misinformation whereby there is exaggeration of the internal status of the country. And people, you speak in English, by the way, especially when I see you in media. And this language is understood by everyone out there. But what would have been a small matter within the country will sound big to the prospecting investors that will be coming to our region to invest. So this misinformation has caused a lot of decline in decision making of the investors that would have come to our region to do proper investment. So such educative platforms, like the way you're doing right now, to show people that it is safe to invest in Uganda or Kenya or Tanzania, because you don't have any single investor whose property or whose investment has been confiscated by the government, because that would be the number one red flag, that if you invest in Kenya and you're against the government, your property is going to be taken or your investment is going to be confiscated. So it doesn't happen anywhere in East Africa. In Uganda, actually, I always advise investors to go off politics, foreign investors, because you don't have to do business and be in politics at the same time. So that means a foreign investor will be coming to overthrow the government. So we advise them to stick to business, and we shall also always try to have the government secure them all the time. So the influx of investors coming in Uganda is already on, because I told you we have an increase in foreign direct investment in Uganda because of the conducive environment, tax exemption, such incentives. We have fertile land, people who want to invest in agro-processing and all other kind of processing. Most of the processing manufacturing has raw materials which are produced from the agricultural sector. So Uganda is a very good place for that. But now we have a challenge whereby most of the products, agricultural products, are produced, yes, but now re-exported as raw products. For example, coffee. Uganda has been a major exporter of coffee, but like only 15% is processed to the final product in Uganda. So farmers export it out of the country, and then we buy it again from the people who have been able to do the final processing to make the final product of coffee. So we need to improve on that. We have encouraged investors to come and invest in the manufacturing sector, especially in the agro-processing, because Uganda is we majorly depend on agriculture. So we would want agricultural processing to be improved so that we have our raw products processed into the final products within our country, export it as a final product, then the economy will improve and there will be less inflation. Yeah.
I've seen your work in terms of advisory to multinational companies, especially those who are interested in investing in Africa. But you also look at the predictability of business environment, for these investors. I don't know what you'd say about these three countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, but also even as even Rwanda, South Sudan, in terms of predictability of the environment, because investors want a predictable environment where they know there's a long term. If they invest they invest their money, not 2-3 years, government would come with new tax regimes, that are a bit exorbitant, that makes them also to move to other countries. How important is that, and what should be done?
That is very important for the investors to look at. The most important thing, I will take it to the legislature, the members of parliament, the Senate in different countries, in order to implement proper taxation policies to avoid changes. It is very good to have predictable changes to be announced. Investors should be given platforms to learn how the government is going to go through the dynamics of taxation, especially because it's very important, and licensing and all other business connected aspects. So in this aspect, I plead to the governments, the leadership, to always consider that development depends on the comfortability of the investors. And so we should always try to create a conducive environment for them. And also, what we would collect in a few investors by inflating the taxes can be collected from very many investors coming in with less taxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost 10% of our viewers are from the US, and we have another good sizable percentage from the UK, right, and other countries abroad, and also within East Africa. There are those who have been looking for that opportunity, and they're wondering what are the best areas that they can invest in East Africa, looking at these countries. What are the top 3 areas or 5 that you can mention that would be lucrative, that would be good, for these people to consider investing in?
Based on, since we are in Africa,
yes,
and based on the background of our countries, I put number 1 as agro-processing, because the land in Africa, especially here in East Africa, you can manipulate it. Even if it is not fertile, you can do, you can put fertilizers and you can produce food. Most of the products you see on the shelves in Europe, in the UK and the United States, they are food products, which are, most of them are products of raw food from the farms. So agro-processing is very important because people consume food every day, and everything comes from the agricultural products is consumed every day. In the agricultural sector also, we have manufacturers, not manufacturers of the products of the farm, but manufacturers of what is going to be used on the farm. For example, manufacturers of the fertilizers, manufacturers of the pesticides, insecticides, also the medication that is going to be used on animals, livestock, also is very important in the agriculture sector. The second I would prefer is real estate. Real estate, it never, it only appreciates every day. Every single second there is appreciation of real estate. The only challenge is acquiring the proper land on the start of the project. So this is where we come in. If people want to come and invest in East Africa, they can contact us. I own a company called Kalbi Investment Consultants. It is in Uganda, Kingdom Kampala building, and ITK Holdings. We work together. You have a website? Yes, we have a website. You could mention it so that those who are watching can be able to see how they can get in touch. KalbiInvestments.com. And in this sector, for example, when people come in, they acquire land, they can decide to have a unit sold out after construction of the real estate, or they can decide to keep them and have construction like of hotels, because in Africa, the hotel market is good. All the real estate sector is very good. Then the other market I would advise in financial technology, whereby people who have developed applications which help. For example, in agriculture, we have connectivity of the buyer and the seller through applications on mobile phones. Also, in financial technology, we also depend on the connectivity of consumers of bank services, where you have those applications on your phone. They are not made by the bank, by the way. An investor comes to the bank and say, yes, I have this software. I want to sell it to you. What is it going to do for us? It is going to connect you to your clients, okay? How are we going to benefit? You go into concession and agree. So that is a very good investment in this growing region with a lot of youthful population. Another region I would suggest is the health sector, of course, for me. Development of the health sector, improvement is required in East Africa. Private health sectors are very profitable if you provide what we look for in India. Okay? We, in the health sector, because that's where I base majorly, we face a lot of challenges. There are things we can do, but we don't have, we call applications to do them. We don't have ways to do them, the appliances and things like that. So if you invest heavily in the health sector with modernization of the health sector, that means you'll be always in progress. Thank you. Yes. Just in 1 second or 30 seconds, even as we're winding up, tell me about AFCON. You know, this is coming to East Africa. How lucrative is it, and what can our people do to take advantage? What are the opportunities that are available there? AFCON, first of all, like I've told you, it is the real estate. The hotel sector is going to benefit a lot, transport sector, and the infrastructure. This is why now it is very good for investors to go into the hotel sector, food products, and the transport sector, because we're going to have a lot of people coming into the region. Also, we want the investors to come, okay, to see the AFCON, to watch the AFCON, but also to learn that in East Africa, it is not unstable the way the media shows the world. So it is a conducive environment for investment, and we would want everybody to come in and invest in East Africa. So as we close, anybody who is looking for us should look for ITK Holdings Limited, or TwahirIsmail.com, or Kalbi Investment Consultants in Uganda. We can help you invest in all East Africa, in all different sectors, with a lot of security on your investment. Wonderful. Yes, sir. You could share your email address if you have for business, for those who would want to write to you, or it is available on the website? It will be, all the contacts are on the website, plus the email. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that is your parting shot? You have something to add for those? Yeah, I want to add that investment in East Africa is safe, but don't rush in whatever you want to do. You have to do it with expertise and advice from the proper consultants like what we provide. In Uganda in particular, we have a prominent investment security, which you can only see when you start working with us. But also in Kenya, we have enough connectivity to different sectors whereby we can secure your investment. Do not rush because you've had this sector is good in this country without having the proper consultation on what to do and where to invest and how it's going. You have to do a lot of research. You'll be advised so that you can be able to do a proper investment. We shall be back here any next time from now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for watching. It has been the People's Bench. Tonight we were talking about issues to do with investment. What are the areas that are lucrative in East Africa? And I've been privileged to have none other than Mr. Twahir Ismail himself. We have been looking at what are these areas and what can we do. And thank you so much for watching. It has been me, Fred Ogweno, coming to you from Muthu, Silver Springs here in Nairobi. And until next time, my guest will be back so that we're able to look at some other areas that we have not looked at. Until next time, bye-bye.